Hi, I'm your host, Marsha Florence with Just Ask. Today's show is Autism Society of Oakland County. Hurry back and join us. Hi, I'm your host, Marsha Florence with Just Ask. Today's show is Autism Society of Oakland County, and we have the president herself, Lisa Kowalski. Good morning, Lisa.
Good morning. How are you?
Fine, fine. Thank you for joining us.
I'm glad to be here.
Okay. Now, Lisa, this is an informational piece here that a lot of parents have called in or emailed us and said that they wanted to talk about, which is autism. And we do know that you represent the Oakland County area. So can you start off with telling us a little bit about yourself, your role, and Autism Society of Oakland County?
Well, currently I am the president of the Autism Society. I got involved because I have a son who has autism, and he is almost 18 years old now. I live in the Oakland County community, and so that's why I'm involved with the Oakland County chapter. I have been an avid volunteer and advocate for children for about 20 years. Okay. And I've been involved in many different organizations beyond the Autism Society, including great things like PTA and a lot of work with the schools in the intermediate school district. And I also participate on other nonprofit organizations such as the ARC of Oakland County and the Oakland Schools Parent Advisory Committee, and many different things I get involved in.
Now, being the president, I mean, were you first a volunteer at a general level before you rose to the top of being the president for?
Yeah, I got involved with this organization because first I was the parent of a 3-year-old, and this organization was well established because they got established in like 1985, and they're one of the Autism Society is the oldest advocacy organization for autism in the country. And way back then, the incidence rate was much lower, like 1 in 10,000, and now it's escalated 600% since then. Wow. So now autism is a word that people know, and back then most people had never heard the word before. Okay. After I started using some of their services, I decided to volunteer at their golf outing, so in a fundraising capacity. Okay. And then from there, a couple years later, I started getting involved in project level things where you just volunteer for certain projects, and eventually got on the board of directors and then became the vice president, and then now I'm the president.
Right. And the whole time that you were going through the different levels of support, you were also having your son involved so that you would learn and do things along with him that this chapter provided?
Yes, and I've been very fortunate that I have been able to not have to support my family. My husband does that, so I've been able during the daytime to get involved with my son's interventions, his schools, and then also do volunteer work. I've had a few part-time jobs that have been involved with nonprofits, but they've been short, one project kind of things, and then I move on. So
just keep going. Now, how many different chapters are there, or is there various chapters for, within Michigan?
I'm not exactly sure the number currently of chapters in Michigan, but at one time it was as many as 13 or 14. I think now it's about 9 or 10. Okay. And there is a Autism Society of Michigan, and that organization is located near the Lansing area, but they support the entire state. So if you don't have a local county chapter, you can access the Autism Society of Michigan. Okay. But in the greater metropolitan Detroit area, there's a Macomb St. Clair, and then there's 2 chapters in Wayne County, and we're Oakland County, and so there's so many people in these areas that it's easy to
Right.
to
You can
create
get some help from. But do you all ever come together and have like a conference or something? Since it's a Oakland County chapter, the Cohen County.
There's a national conference every year in July that is somewhere in the United States. We see each other there quite often. The state of Michigan chapter has conferences that we may all come together and participate in. Recently, we've only had one meeting where we all were together. That was about a year ago. For the most part, we have the same general mission, but we act as local, independent organizations with the national levels. Like there's policies and general purpose to what we work on. Advocacy and support.
No two chapters primarily do the same thing.
No, they don't, and they're not necessarily run exactly the same either. But there is an infrastructure. Part of it has to do with what are the needs of that local community, and if you are. That's really what it boils down to. What are the needs in that local community, but then also what are your funding sources? Because we are lucky to have an exceptional funding mechanism, but some of our chapters are not, and so they're very limited at the scope that they can accomplish because they don't have the dollars to do it.
But wouldn't that affect, so a parent who has a child who's just been recently diagnosed is seeking services or some type of support, can he or she go from different counties to get that support, or do they have to stay within their own county to utilize the services?
That's a very complicated question. For the most part of it has to do with how far are you willing to drive from your home to go get services, and another one has to do with people's medical services, if anything is provided to them. Our organization does things like through the Judson Center, there's therapy involved, and we subsidize that so it's extremely affordable to people. And then there's an Team Autism run at the Detroit Marathon. That whole proceeds from that is for scholarships for low-income people who can't afford services at all, and that's through the Judson Center that we give that therapy, and that's so good. It's a complicated question.
But you answered it very well. I tell you what, Lisa, we're going to take a break, and ladies and gentlemen, we'll be right back with some more good information about autism. We'll be right back.
In 1990, in Severn, Maryland, the daughter of a clergyman was discovered by a music industry insider while pumping gas at a service station. The odds of her getting signed and spending 11 weeks at #1 on the U.S. singles charts? 1 in 19 million. The odds of this former church choir singer going on to sell 40 million records? 1 in 15 million. The odds of the same woman winning 6 Grammy Awards and starring in 2 Broadway plays? 1 in 75 million. The odds of this musician and performer having a child diagnosed with autism? 1 in 150. I'm Toni Braxton, and I encourage you to learn the signs of autism at autismspeaks.org. Early diagnosis can make a lifetime of difference.
And welcome back to the second half of the show. For those of you who are just not joining us, we have Lisa Kowalski, the president of the Autism Society of Oakland County. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know about you, but I would take a moment out, jot down the website that we're going to give you and the phone number. And if you have a question in reference to some services and whereabouts for, excuse me, the Autism Society, you need to write that down. So get your pens and paper out, and we're going to ask Lisa some more good questions. Now, Lisa, we left off with some very pertinent stuff because a lot of people, earlier we were talking about, as a parent, when your child is sick, at any cost you will go.
Yes.
Okay. So at the event that services are available in Oakland County or at Judson Center, Wayne County residents, Macomb County residents can go over to Judson?
Absolutely. Okay. We don't just only do them through Judson Center either. We depending on who's doing great programming, that's where we send our money. And so We help Oates horseback riding in Clarkston, but people from all, like Genesee come there, and then also Macomb come there. It's as far as you're willing to drive.
Okay.
Also, Oakland University has the OU Cares program that we support as well.
Can you tell us a little bit about OU Care? What is that?
OU Cares is a nonprofit organization within the Oakland University setting, and people who are involved with it also help certify teachers to teach autism. But they offer therapeutic services, recreational services, social services. Our group has an adult social that's held at Oakland University. So high-functioning Asperger's syndrome adults who want to meet and mingle with each other, meet there once a month, and we that's one of the programs we sponsor.
It's called OU Care?
OU Cares.
Okay, OU Cares.
Yeah, like Oakland University Cares. That's the OU.
Okay, OU, okay.
Yeah, and then like our teen social is exceptionally popular. That's located in Troy, Michigan. But people as far on the very west side will drive all the way to be at that event, and that happens about every 6 or 8 weeks. And all of that information is available on our website if you're interested.
And that website is?
www.asaoakland.org.
Okay, all right. We'll make sure we flag that up there. Now, see, this is the thing. And earlier, when we're talking about children and they're growing every day, you as a parent with a child with the condition such as autism, did you see early signs, or what are some of the signs and symptoms the parents might, can recognize?
I started noticing that my son wasn't having normal development when he was 1. And by 18 months, I felt concerned and started talking to my pediatrician about it. But that was a long time ago. That was in early 1990s. In today's world, luckily, the American Academy of Pediatrics is really informing pediatricians all about autism. And they're as early as 2 and 3 years old are being diagnosed on a regular basis. The symptoms of autism are most commonly things like a delay in the development of speech, a delay in social interactions, or inability to seem to have them, and then there's a lot of children have sensory integration needs, and then as well as their differences in how they learn. Because of all of those 4 factors, very often different behaviors will be observed. But the behaviors are the results of having a disability, not having the right kinds of abilities to communicate or socialize, and having your sensory system be overreactive or underreactive.
So when you say sensory system, that's like if water's running and the child holds his ears because it's like it's screeching or something?
Right, so that child would have an overreactive sense of hearing. And some children have an overreactive sense of touch, their tactile system. But not well known to the public is your vestibular system and your proprioception system. And that sometimes is, it's really good. What we advise to paramount, if you have any concerns, speak up. Don't worry about it, but just take action. Early intervention can make a lot of difference in how affected your child is by autism.
That last sense that you spoke about, was that the visual? You said visual?
Proprioception is it's how your brain reacts to gravity and where you are in space. And so that informs you of where you are in space and where your body is in place. It's kind of... I could spend 15 minutes talking about it.
Well, no, I mean, I know you're not the doctor. But
right, I'm not. And then your vestibular system, these are things when you'll see children make unusual movements. And, there was that very old school thought process that children with autism weren't loving. That's not true at all. What's true is that their sensory systems are overreactive and that they need intervention in socialization and communication skills. Once you repair that or intervene and treat it therapeutically, love will be so obvious.
I mean, I can imagine, and I say imagine in a sense because I don't have any children, but that's got to be a lot of work.
It is.
That's got to be a lot of
It
work,
is
and that's a 24-hour job to be able to see things going on with your child, and you've got to interact and help them become the person that they need to be.
And what's important is guided therapeutic intervention. And so you need the professionals to be helping guide, but then parents also have to continue that throughout the rest of the 7-day week. And that's another thing that we stress is that parents get actively involved in their child's therapy as well as the therapeutic interventions.
What about the diet? Is there something within the diet? Is there certain, is it foods that you take out of the child's diet so that something like dairy or something?
Sometimes there's symptoms that may suggest that food allergies or
something like milk.
It's really not, sometimes it's not always an allergy, but more of an intolerance.
Right.
And it's gluten-free and casein-free is the words that I think you're trying to come up with. Those diets are something that some people will try to see if it has a positive effect on their child. And I'm not sure what the percentage is, but it's about 25-30% of people improve when they go on those diets. The Autism Society believes in the options policy, which is that there isn't one intervention and one methodology that works for every single person. There's all these choices out there, and knowing the child's body, the child's symptoms, the family dynamics of what's possible, the amount of money available to support this child's therapy, that's how you choose which path that you take. Some things are invasive and other things are not, and it's individual choices of families.
And I could tell that you have done a lot of work with your own child to know these things in itself. So that helps you be able to support another parent who's going through this difficult time with trying to develop or find out what's going on with his or her child.
Yes, for example, we did not pay for sensory integration therapy. I went to the school, observed the occupational therapist working with my son, and actually asked for training per se, like have a 20-minute conference with me 4 times a year to keep guiding me on what to buy. And I took the OT catalogs and I bought the same stuff and we put it at our house. Therapy for sensory integration might cost $60, $70 a session. If you buy the equipment for $120, after 2 sessions it's paid for itself. But you do have to have the guidance to know what it is you should be doing with your child that week to continue the therapies. So we had this incredible play structure in our backyard with all these extra cool swings and things like that. So we were the popular house because of our therapy backyard. All kids played on it.
All right. Well, Lisa, we're going to take a break. And ladies and gentlemen, we'll be right back for some more information on Autism Society, the Oakland County chapter. We'll be right back.
America's greatness was not crafted in skyscrapers alone, but on the ground by those who could see what needed to be done. Volunteers who in service stepped forward onto the dust of the moon, a levee in the heartland, the marble steps of a dream. You may ask yourself, where's my moon, my levee, my dream? Well, it's here, with you. Step forward. Help renew America at usaservice.org.
And welcome to the last half of the show. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I can't tell you how much I've learned today about the Autism Society, the Oakland County chapter. But if you are a parent who is struggling, trying to find some services for your child, I would highly suggest that you contact them. And we're going to give out the website and the phone number. Now, the phone number, I'm going to give it to you now so that you can write it down, because I know you got a pen and a piece of paper. It's 248-393-3131. Too simple. 248-393-3131. And Lisa, what's that website again?
www.asaoakland.org.
Okay, and we're going to flag that up anyway. Now, I have a lot of literature here, so first I want to start off with this. This is a newsletter, right?
Yeah.
Advocate, okay, so new mission statement, needs of the future. Now, can a person request this in the mail?
Yes, but it's available right now on our website in electronic form if you'd like to just read it on the internet. But yes, you can either email the chapter through the website or call us on the phone and ask for things to be mailed to you.
And what would they find in this newsletter?
That is kind of a summary of a lot of the projects that we've worked on throughout the year, and it also highlights the fundraising activities that we did, because those people who participate in our golf outing, our charter sponsors, they're responsible for raising the money that we're able to use to then help the school systems through our school grant program and all the other things that we mentioned earlier on the show.
Okay.
Our school grant program, that we didn't do it last year, but for the most part we've done it like 10 years prior to that, gets money directly into the classrooms of the Oakland County autism public school classrooms. And the last 2 years ago we opened it up to all educational formats, so if you were private school, public school, whatever, you could apply for the grant.
All right, now this big heavy notebook means something, ladies and gentlemen. So getting my own address for people with autism spectrum disorders. Okay, now I'm going to have Lisa tell me all about this, because this is a serious notebook. So Lisa, this is
one of our latest endeavors. Our organization is a volunteer organization comprised of parents and people who are dedicated to the autism cause, and this project was through Community Housing Network. And we gave Community Housing Network a grant to create this new resource. It's a very extensive but very simply written and thorough guide on the entire process of an individual with autism or any other developmental disability working through the process of living outside their parents' home. And it covers things such as the support systems that would be needed, because they may still need care even though they're in a house. Whether you should rent or whether you should buy a house, all of the finances involved in the situation, and then all of the how to find a roommate, that kind of thing.
Let me ask you this. So this book, I know it's developed and designed for adult, is it teens and adults who are
teens and adults all the way through age 60 or 70. So some parents right now are getting much older and are finding the need that their 50-year-old child needs to find a place to live. And this is a guide for them, as well as someone who has a 16 or 17-year-old and is considering that their child maybe in the next 10 years or maybe in the next 2 years will
so
be
somebody can actually call and ask for this binder. It's a fee for this binder, but however, this will be very supportive in helping that person make some independent decisions.
Right. The Autism Society subsidized the cost of the binder. It's $25 if you're within Oakland County. It's available to everyone outside of our county as well for a $40 fee. And there's going to be a presentation series and trainings that accompany it. If you're a do-it-yourselfer, you just buy the book and follow it along. The other thing I didn't mention is it has a tremendous amount of worksheets, and so it's not just something to read.
It's a heavy book, so I'm assuming that a person who is in need of some valuable information would get this book, because there's some questions that can be answered just alone in viewing this book about where I want to live, or how I should set up my checking or savings account to automatically take out for my rent. Job availability, things of that nature, social interactions. And it's written at a functional reading level with the interactive worksheet, so people can help make their own decisions. All right, and this brochure here, it's time to change how we view a child's growth. That's from the Centers for Disease Control, the National Center, and our organization was very active in putting those in all the public libraries of our county. What that is what we talked about earlier in the show, get early intervention. And so that is just a public service brochure that tells you the developmental steps of a child. And if your child's fallen off that path, you should take action and get your child evaluated. All right. And I know you guys have an upcoming event here, golf for autism. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Tell us about
this will be our 16th annual golf outing.
Okay.
And it's held at the Walnut Creek Country Club in South Lyon, Michigan.
All right.
We are indebted to all of the sponsors that we have, our charter sponsors, our commercial contracting in Miller Canfield, I.F. Frady, Wallbridge, and then the Knights of Columbus have been an amazing supporter of our organization, and that would be the Clausen
All right.
group.
All right. Okay, so these guys have been very helpful and supportive of keeping you guys.
We hit the $1 million mark a couple years ago through that golf outing.
Wow.
And that is a lot of services. When you consider that we're a not only nonprofit, but a volunteer organization, that's money directly in the community.
Wow. You guys are doing a wonderful job. Okay, really wonderful job. And last but not least, about autism and this beautiful pin here. Okay.
The Autism Ribbon is known by a lot of people, and that was originated through the Autism Society nationally way back in the 70s or maybe the 50s, I'm not quite sure. But we give that out at golf outings or events where we believe people need the basic knowledge about autism. The fact that 1 in 110 children are now diagnosed with autism, and 1 out of 70 are boys. It talks about the need for early intervention and some of the symptoms of autism, as well as the recommendation of the American Academy of Pediatrics. Okay.
Well, I tell you what, Lisa, I mean, you gave us a wealth of information today, and you covered it well, Ms. President. Okay, again, we appreciate it. I mean, a lot of parents are not strong in advocating for their kids, and they need to know that they can go somewhere and receive some support systems so that they can grow within themselves to be able to handle
We also have a
situation.
lot of background knowledge on the school systems. And we didn't talk about that a lot yet today, but I wanted to make sure that it's not just about medical therapy, but also the educational interventions that are part of the IEP process, where we understand all of that as well.
Okay, because some of the schools are not familiar, or now are the teachers in the school system, are they special education teachers or certified in the care of autism or something? Do you know?
To be certified in autism, you also have to have a bachelor's in special education. Right now it's a master's level program. So the answer is both. But not all people with autism need special education learning environments. They're in the general education setting, and then they might receive some level of support like social work or speech or something like that. There's some people who have autism who are right on track intellectually or even above, but they do have their socialization needs.
Okay.
So.
Well, I tell you what, Lisa Kowalski, President of the Oakland County chapter, we'd like to have you come back again and join us and keep us informed of what's going on. And ladies and gentlemen, I mean, if you are in need of services, like I said, go to the website. What's the website, Lisa?
www.asaoakland.org.
Okay, and the phone number 248-393-3131. Call that number. Lisa might just answer the phone, and she can answer questions for you, or anyone in the chapter's organization can answer some questions for you. Thank you, Lisa, for coming.
I appreciate you inviting me.
All right. Well, I'm your host, Marsha Florence, and what do I always say? If you know someone with a disability, or if you just have a general question, don't be afraid to ask. I'm your host, Marsha Florence. Just ask. Thank you.